right outside of the police department. My leader at the time thought that I was in trouble and pretty much did nothing.
Just walked
right back into the police department.
A fellow officer at the time being accused of, at the time he was being accused of potentially stalking and domestic violence.
Right. So I brought it to the attention of Captain Elshamy in October of 2024. He assured me for a fact that he would look into it because what was going on was not right. But unfortunately, he never did.
This video is huge. This relates to an ongoing story many of you have followed for a while that has resulted in several officers becoming former officers. And now there's another one, but this one's a little different. We're going to get into some massive updates, some new information with some things I couldn't share before, and you're going to hear some truly disturbing things. And there's a few of those people out there that despise when people like myself insist upon government transparency and accountability and expose wrongdoing. And if you think about it, it's super un-American to even think that way. Those people must hate rights and freedoms. But those people also like to cry and whine. They're like, stop making things up about the police. You're lying. These things don't happen. Well, what will they say today? What will they say today? When you hear it for yourself directly from the inside. When you hear for yourself what's going on inside a department from someone inside the department. I guess we'll find out because that's what you're about to see.
Well, we're here at the Orange City Police Department with Officer King?
Former Officer King.
Former Officer King. Boom, you dropped that bomb right there.
Yeah.
Officer King is no longer with the Orange City Police Department on his own accord. I know a lot of people think, my personal opinion, you've been seeing a lot of retaliation. And, you can say what you want. Now, obviously, it's up to you. You're not bound by any policy now. But yeah, you're not bound by any policy now.
Nope.
A lot of people think you were seeing retaliation for blowing the whistle on not just Brown, but before that it was Stewart. We've been all through that. People have seen the videos. They've heard the stories. I believe that what you did is frowned upon by this administration, at least by this chief. And I feel like you saw retaliation. And I know the people feel like you saw retaliation.
Absolutely did.
Yeah, so you did. So you agree with all that?
Yeah, 100%. 100% did.
You saw retaliation too.
And it got to the point where I became uncomfortable. So as a result of me being uncomfortable, I left. I absolutely did. So I wasn't terminated. I left on my own.
100%. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be rumors. There's probably already rumors. There's going to be rumors.
Yeah.
And welcome to my world, man. And then they'll evolve, pretty soon. It's like the telephone game. There's all sorts of rumors. When I did that job, I left on my own too. Actually, I was just telling you about that. I decided in the middle of the night one night. It was because it was just bringing me down in general, and I left. But the rumors are, I was fired for all sorts of things, and well, you've heard some rumors. You've heard rumors. So welcome to the rumor club.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, I'll actually show you resignation because that's public record. King definitely resigned on his own accord, and you're saying it's because of the treatment you're seeing here.
Yeah, and it's kind of a shame because as law enforcement officers, we have a duty to uphold the law and enforce it. And unfortunately, when it comes to some law enforcement agencies, they kind of say, okay, you can enforce the law out there, but when it comes to one of us for breaking the law, it's frowned upon. And when I say it's frowned upon, I'm saying it's frowned upon for us to report the wrongdoing of a officer. And when we report the wrongdoing of an officer, oftentimes, like I did, we face what I like to call retaliation. So that's what I've been facing since October of 2024.
Yeah, and I agree, and I've seen a lot of the same thing. I've seen it at other agencies. I've covered stories, and I've worked with other officers at different departments. I see it over and over again.
It's so sad.
And it's an above the law mentality, and that's one of the things that I always talk about. I push against this above the law, hypocritical policing, rules for thee, but not for me, type of thing.
I see that a lot.
They have these mission statements and all these things that they spout that they put in writing for the public to hear. But that, my opinion, you let me know if you agree, that is just for show. That's just for the public.
It is.
Because they don't live by it. They don't act by it. Ethics, integrity, all this stuff that they spout. Yeah, it looks good on paper. And it would be great if it actually played out.
Yeah.
But in my experience, it doesn't. And that sucks because, so you did this job because you wanted to do this job.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
then you get pushed out
And then I get
because
pushed out because I did the right thing.
because you did the job.
I did
the way
my
you're supposed
job.
to do the job.
Yes.
Right. So you got,
That's very true.
and we hear that a lot too. A lot of people, I've said this to you before. A lot of people will get mad at me when I mention it, when I say the term good cop.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, there's no such thing as a good cop. More and more though, I'm seeing people kind of come around. They're seeing it, especially with your story. You run into so few because the good ones, or what we call the good ones, usually are pushed out or they take off because they don't want to be part of it anymore.
Correct.
And that sucks because it hurts the people that are pushed out or leave, but it also leaves all the rest to grow into leadership positions and things like that. They fall into leadership positions. A lot of these agencies are being led by the bad ones, I'll say.
Right.
And then what type of agency are you going to have then? You know, if they're led by the ones that don't want you to speak up, they don't want to know about misconduct and things like that.
That's going to be the culture, unfortunately.
That's going to be the culture, and then we're going to see situations like the one you're in right now. You mentioned a thing to me, something disturbed me. You mentioned it to me one time I ran into you.
Yeah.
You mentioned it to me and I never made it public.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to create any more issues for you than I know you're already dealing with.
Yeah.
At the time. Now you're free. You're
Yes.
free. That must feel good. Does
It
feel
is
to
a
be
good
free?
feeling. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. You mentioned a time to me, I believe you said you were at the police department.
Yep, I was right outside of the police
And
department.
you were talking to somebody or
Yep.
something. And what, do you want to just run through what happened?
Yeah, so I had just wrapped up a call at the police department, and I was walking back to my car. This guy pulled up to me, and he's like, "Hey, can I talk to you real quick?" I'm like, "Of course." So he hopped out of his car. He told me who he was, and long story short, he was a police officer in New York for 20 years, and he wanted to continue his service here in Florida.
Okay.
So he wanted to know the process and how to get his certification transferred from New York down here. So we're kind of talking, and of course, I'm looking around, and I see my chief. He peeks his head out of the door really quick, and then he goes right back in.
So he came out, looked at you out there.
And he kind of looked concerned.
Okay.
Like, well, why is he concerned? So he went right back in, and then when I finished the conversation with this guy, I get a text message, and it's from one of my former coworkers, and she said, "Hey, Chief wanted to see if you were okay because it looked like you were in distress or something along those lines." And I was like, that's odd. If I was in trouble, why didn't you come out and check on me instead of just peeping your head out and go back in? So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, hearing that rubbed me the wrong way. So he saw you, in his mind, he came out and saw you, thought you might be in some sort of trouble.
Yeah, some sort of trouble.
And he physically saw you. He didn't see you on a video.
No.
Or you weren't on a FaceTime call with the chief.
No.
So he physically was near you.
Yes.
And saw you.
Yeah.
He thought you're in some sort of trouble. So he went back. You were an officer, his officer.
Yes.
He's your chief.
Yes.
He went back inside.
Yes.
And then had somebody else text you.
Text me, yes.
To see if you're okay.
Yeah.
So, and I just want to be super clear. So he thought you might be in trouble.
Yes. Because from what he
And he
saw when
walked
he peeked
away.
his head out of the door, he saw that I was possibly in trouble.
And he walked
And
away.
he
from
walked
you.
away and had someone else text me to make sure that I was okay.
And is that that was during this time that?
Oh yes.
After you've blown the whistle and stuff.
Yes.
And since the retaliation has been going on.
That was probably in the heat of it. Yeah.
That when you told me that,
Yeah.
that was absolutely insane.
It's
I
disgusting.
honestly it is disgusting. 100% disgusting. It's one of the most cowardly, disgusting things I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
That made me angry to think that someone would be that disgusting and that low.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And the reason I never made that public is because I wanted to share it. People are going to be disgusted with that. And it's not going to look good on him. And I know everything rolls downhill. You were still here.
Yeah.
You were already seeing retaliation.
Yeah.
So I didn't want him. But man, he just walks away.
Yeah.
So that could have got worse.
It could have, absolutely could have.
He asked someone to text you. He doesn't even say, "Hey, run out there and check on King."
Correct. He
Hey,
asked me to text me.
send him a text real quick.
Yeah,
see if everything's okay. And then what if you didn't answer? What if you're in trouble and you didn't answer?
Right.
Are they just going to assume you're fine and just walk away? So he just walked away. That's one of the most, I can't imagine how you must have felt, like super betrayed and probably alone. Like,
yeah, of course.
You're just on your own out here.
Yeah, right outside of the police department. My leader at the time thought that I was in trouble and pretty much did nothing.
Just walked
right back into the police department.
That's so disgusting. Of all the things I've heard out of this department, honestly.
Too bad that the police chief's wife didn't take it up the butt.
That's that's at least one of them, but it's probably the most disturbing thing I've ever heard. Because I don't know what type of person, even if you're a stranger, I don't know who you are, but I'm going to help somebody.
That's a good point.
Now, if you're my coworker,
right,
that's going to be even different. If you're somebody that I know, and I know for a fact, okay, I feel like he is in trouble, I couldn't imagine walking the other way. Who would do that? I wouldn't do that to a stranger.
Yeah.
And this is a law enforcer, a chief law enforcer.
Yeah.
One of his own officers. I'll be honest with you, man. That thing pissed me off. That pissed me off. And yeah, I can't imagine how you must have felt. So from that point on, you already felt like you're getting kind of shat on.
Yeah. From that point on, I felt like, okay, I'm completely alone here. I am.
So if you need help,
it's not coming.
It's not coming.
Yeah.
You were the first person to bring the whole Brown thing.
Yes. Yes.
The story. Most people have already heard the story, but essentially it was a coworker, a fellow officer at the time, being accused of. At the time, he was being accused of potentially stalking and domestic violence.
Right.
And you found out about it. You knew about it. Oh, also using the computers, the flock system.
Yes. To stalk his ex-girlfriend.
Right.
Yes.
To stalk his ex-girlfriend, and you brought it to administration.
I brought it to the attention of Captain El Shami.
Captain El Shami, yes. Who, ironically, at this time right now, as we speak, is the subject of that investigation. It wrapped up for Brown, and he's being investigated for it now.
Right. Brown and I were on this same shift, but we were parked right next to each other, and I looked over at his laptop, and I saw a license plate on the flock camera system that I recognized, and I'm like, is that who I think it is? And he's like, yeah, and I'm like, why are you looking her up? And he's like, well, I feel like she's cheating on me, and I'm like, maybe she is, but you can't do this. And he said, okay, I'll stop. But unfortunately, it did. So I brought it to the attention of Captain El Shami in October of 2024. I explained to him everything that I knew about it. And he assured me for a fact that he would look into it because what was going on was not right. But unfortunately, he never did.
He never did.
He never did.
It's not right, and there's serious allegations, when you get into that. So, and that was in
October.
Yeah. 2024. And then he never did.
He never did.
He never looked into it. Correct. And it's actually sometime after that the victim reached out to me. Yeah. That's how I became involved. But I came to this department in November, in the beginning of November. I want to say it was November 8th.
Okay.
November 7th or 8th, something like that. And I ran into a captain out back, and I this has been out there, and I was like, hey, what's going on with Brown? He's still working on the road. He's being accused of all these things. And he was like, what the hell are you talking about? They knew, and then I found out then that nobody knew what I was talking about. Mm-hmm. I thought he was playing with me because, sometimes they play with me.
Right, no, he wasn't playing.
He wasn't playing. He didn't know. The chief didn't know. Nobody knew about the allegations that you had brought forward to a captain here a month earlier. Mm-hmm. And, I have no idea why he decided to keep that to himself. If he wanted to cover for him, I can only guess at this point.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know why he would want to do that because, as we know, the way that played out, Brown was terminated. He was charged. He was investigated. They found that he did do the things he was accused of doing. Right. And he was charged. So why a captain would put themselves in a spot that they would, if he's covering for him, I don't know. I have no idea why he would just keep it quiet. But that would be obviously a poor decision if he decided to do that. Did he ever mention? I know he mentioned to somebody at some point why he didn't bring it up, or he was going to do it later, or whatever he said.
So after the whole thing blew up, I had a follow-up meeting with Captain El Shami in January, and it was a normal conversation. I'm like, hey, Captain,
This is
why,
3 months later, in January.
Yeah,
3 months later.
Correct.
Okay.
January 2025. So
Right.
I asked him, like, hey, why didn't you look into the whole Brown thing when I initially brought it to you? And he said, I was planning on looking into it over the holidays, which obviously means he was never planning on looking into it. Well, why would you wait months
to
look into that?
Right, yeah, that's scary. So
Yeah.
now we're in January.
Yeah, we're in January.
So he was going to wait till after the holidays.
Yeah.
Which in January pretty much is after the holidays now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So was his mentality like, oh, well, it came out anyway. Shoot, I was going to bring it up, but you guys figured it out first.
At that time, he looked. Well, he didn't just look. He told me that he was very concerned for his job because he knew that he needed to look into it, even though that he chose not to. So he was genuinely concerned about losing his position here as the captain.
So to put that in perspective, if you were working as an officer,
yes,
let's say in Ord City, and somebody called police and said, hey, their ex is stalking them.
Yes.
And you come out and they, tell you everything that was going on. You say, okay, I'm going to do a report. I'm going to file this. I'm going to do everything.
Yep.
And then let's say this person keeps stalking them. And then this victim calls you months later and says, hey, he's still doing it. I'm in fear. And you say, well, I didn't do anything about it yet. I wanted to wait until after Christmas, wait till after the holidays. How would that roll for you, do you think? If you waited 3 months and said, well, you hadn't done anything because you wanted to let the holidays pass first.
If I didn't act on something like that, I would probably get fired, and rightfully so if I failed to act.
I would agree. Failure to act, right?
Yeah, failure to act.
And that puts someone in potentially huge danger.
Yeah.
If something happened,
Yeah.
and that citizen no longer is here because you didn't do anything about
I didn't do my job.
You're gonna be criminally charged.
100%. Yes, that's very true.
But that's if it was a citizen. Now we have law enforcement officers. A law enforcement officer was the alleged stalker.
Correct.
So that kind of changes things.
Correct.
And I'm surprised. I don't know. I would think heads would roll. So if that happened for you, heads would roll.
Absolutely.
We have it here where that did happen.
It did.
That absolutely happened. However, the suspect was a police officer, and the person who took the report initially and decided to keep it quiet was a police captain.
Yes.
Heads aren't rolling.
No,
heads aren't rolling.
They're not.
Business as usual.
Business as usual, and it's a shame.
They just a few weeks ago started looking into the fact that El Shami dropped the ball. And this has been known. This has been long known.
Yeah.
I said that I don't know why they act so surprised. I said this to them, I don't know, in January?
Yeah.
And I know they also, the rumors started for you. We talked about rumors. The rumors started for you long ago here.
Oh, yeah.
Once I got involved with this, I don't know exactly how it started, but yeah, there was lots of rumors.
I want to interject something real quick that's going to relate to what we're about to hear. And that's how the Orange City Police Department violated Shadrach King's rights. One of the times, anyway. We've covered it before on this channel, the Police Officer's Bill of Rights. You can go back and find that video. But to sum it up, essentially, when an officer becomes under investigation, they're covered by statute. There's certain things that have to be in place. They must be notified that they are the subject of the investigation. And some things I don't agree with. They have to be presented all the evidence and all that before they even decide if they want to speak. Now, King was never under investigation. However, Police Chief Wayne Miller asked another agency, the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, to call him into their office on his day off, where they asked him if he could go, or if they could go through his phone. They wanted to see if he was speaking to me, because they didn't understand the reality that the victim was speaking to me. They made many assumptions and blamed everything on King. And of course, instead of focusing on the problem at hand, they want to know how people are finding out about the problem. He of course declined, as he should have, but they were clearly trying to investigate him without notifying him that they were investigating him. And let's not forget that Volusia County Sheriff's Office investigator that was investigating the Brown incident abruptly resigned when it was discovered that he had built an inappropriate relationship with the victim.
There's rumors that with the Brown thing, Brown's victim, you wanted a relationship with the victim.
So I made up the entire thing.
You made up the entire thing, right?
Yep.
And let's remember, he was later charged with it,
Right.
and it was found. The evidence was found that he did do it, but you made it up because you had a relationship or wanted a relationship or whatever it was, and they accused you of pushing her to do it or whatever they did. You had these ulterior motives.
Yep.
And what they How they didn't realize it, I have no idea. I am the one that turned in her complaint. She contacted me. I told her, you got to write this complaint. You have to write a complaint. You have to put it in writing. And she was afraid to come up here. She didn't want to come up here. I said, I will turn it in. Said, I will turn it in for you. I'll do all this. And that's what I did. I turned it in. But somehow it became, and then I put out a story on it. And I guess in their mind, since you went to them, and then I did a story on it, I don't know, somehow you're working with me or whatever it was.
Together.
Working together. So I did all that. They accused you of doing it. It's just ridiculous. The past couple months, how's work been the past couple months? Have you been busy at work?
Oh my goodness. Well, let's just say I've been on paid administrative leave since May 15th.
May 15th.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And we are now, today is June 28th or 27th or something?
27th. June 27th.
So May 15th. So
yes.
you had a good paid vacation. Your administrative paid, not vacation, it was paid administrative leave.
That's right.
I will just say that it's my understanding from what I've read and what I've looked at, you presented them with an issue a long time ago.
Yes.
A legitimate issue.
Yes.
That you presented to the police department, to the city.
Also in October of 2024.
Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Wow, a lot goes back to then, huh?
Yes.
And you provided them documentation and everything, to prove the legitimacy.
Yes.
I'm not going to get into specifics, but it was something that, in my opinion, they could have accommodated.
Yes, they could have.
And that, in my experience with this department, they have accommodated for others in the past. They can make different accommodations for different people. Let's say you didn't get hurt, but let's say somebody gets hurt. They have them work the front window, or they have them do something.
Right.
They're paying them to work.
Yes.
So they're not going to pay them just to stay home. They make some sort of accommodation, at least temporarily, till they work something out.
Correct.
And then, they go from there.
Right.
But in your case, they just ignored it. And then after all this came out, you sent some emails to the chief that I got my hands on because they're public record. And the chief, that was another thing. The chief came back to you, at least through your evaluation, and asked you to talk to him in person, not an email anymore.
Not a chance.
And right, not a chance, absolutely. 100%. And that is my opinion, because he just didn't want anybody to see what you're saying. After all that, only then did this issue that you brought to them in October 2024, only now when all this started, they decided you even pointed out to them that you had presented this issue and they ignored it.
I sure have, yeah.
And now when all this happened, they decided, okay, you know what, we're going to pay attention to your issue and we're going to put you on paid administrative leave.
I've been on paid administrative leave since May 15th of 2025.
So that's, I don't know how many weeks that is. And they could have put you at the front desk, right?
They could have put me at the front desk.
This front desk, well, it's a different building, but they have been at this front desk. We've had, I don't know how many officers I've seen working in the front desk.
Yeah.
Several of them working at the front desk for various reasons. So not King, they didn't put King at the front desk like they do with everybody else.
No.
They sent you home.
Yep, they sent me home.
They said, we're going to continue to pay you to stay home.
To stay home, away from them.
So Orange City decided to, the people are funding all these government agencies. So instead of having an officer on the road or an officer here doing whatever, they feel like the officer should be doing, paying you to just stay home and have a vacation.
Home. Exactly.
And I feel like that's because that's you. And
exactly.
They did not want you around because, in my opinion, you got a big mouth and you're betraying that blue line. That's my opinion.
The blue line.
They don't want you to speak up, man. They just don't. And you do. You make too much damn noise. They don't like to see that. The people like to see that, obviously. The people need to see that.
Yeah, but not this agency.
But they don't like that. So for you, we're just going to pay you to stay home. And that went all the way up until you resigned.
Until I resigned.
Resigned on your own accord.
Last week.
That's how much they hate you.
That's how much they can't stand me.
And I'm telling you, man, it's that blue wall of silence is frowned upon. They do tell you. We've had this exact conversation before. We have. They tell you and they put it in writing. If you see things going on, you have to tell us. You have to come forward.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we can even charge you if you don't.
Yep.
But if you do, that's something else that's just for writing. They just want the public to see, look at these standards we have. We have zero tolerance. We tell these officers they must come forward.
It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything because then when you do come forward, look what happened.
Like shit.
It's been downhill since for you.
It has been.
As far as, this department and the administration. In all this that I'm doing, this is my quest to find the right thing, to highlight an agency that's living by their standards, that's doing all these. They're not hiding from accountability, not hiding from transparency.
Right.
And I haven't found it yet. And during this quest, I find all that we find here. And that's ridiculous, and that's a true thing. And 100%, I would love, and it's my goal, to make videos to highlight these things. And look at all this crap I find in the meantime. And that blue line, the blue line, I've said this forever, that to me, that's a gang sign, man. That damn blue line, that's, in my opinion, a lot of people's opinion, that's something different, man. That's like a brotherhood. Hey, I got you. That's what they're enforcing here. They're enforcing that blue line, and in their mind, you betrayed that blue line because that blue line is a code of silence. We stand up for each other. We stick up for each other. And when you betray that, look what happened. The blue line, we stick together. Your chief walked away from you. Thinks you're in trouble because you betrayed it. So you're not part of it anymore.
Wow.
So you have an issue. You're going to be paid to stay home. You're not part of this club anymore. You're not part of this gang anymore. You're uninitiated from the gang.
That's unfortunate. It really is.
It is unfortunate. Yeah, it's a shame. It's ridiculous. But congratulations for getting the hell out of here, man.
Thank you. I appreciate
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wish you well. I know a lot of people are going to be surprised. You had a lot of support, man. In these comments, a lot of people saying a lot of things in all these videos. I appreciate the support, I really do. And it must feel really good to walk out that damn door.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'll hold the door for you. Thank
you. Appreciate it.
I think I know people are going to ask, so I'm just going to say it real quick. People are going to ask. They're going to be like, oh, is he going to another agency? Is he doing something like that? I think you can say, whatever you want, but I think for reasons of, some things that have gone on here, I think you're kind of just keeping that to yourself right now. But you're doing all right. You're going off. You're moving on to other things, and you're fine.
Absolutely.
And you're doing good. So that's going to have to suffice, people, because you know how it is.